They called her princess on her first day. Not to her face, they were unbrave enough for that, but loud enough that she could hear it over the clang of lockers and the heavy boot steps of men who had already decided she didn't belong. Lieutenant Sarah Voss had walked into Camp Pendleton's joint training facility carrying nothing but a duffel bag, a ranger tab on her shoulder, and 11 years of silence where other people kept their excuses. She had earned that tab the hard way, through mountains in Georgia, through rain that turned training grounds into rivers, through nights so cold her fingers forgot they had feeling. She had bled for that tab. And on her very first morning, 7 Marines looked at her like she was a joke someone had forgotten to finish. If you think you know where this story is going, you don't. Stay with it. Because what these 7 men were about to discover about Sarah Voss would not only silence them, it would change the way every single one of them understood strength for the rest of their lives. The joint exercise was a close-quarters combat simulation, a test designed to push every participant to their absolute edge. The scenario was simple on paper: 1 team defends, 1 team assaults, and the commanding officer scores each engagement in real time. What nobody told Sarah was that the 7 Marines on the opposing team had quietly agreed the night before to make her look weak. Not out of hatred, they would later say, but out of something worse: casual dismissal. They simply did not believe a woman could compete in their space. And they wanted the exercise to confirm what they already thought they knew. One of them, a staff sergeant named Brody Callahan, 6'2", decorated twice, the kind of man who filled a room before he spoke, had laughed at dinner and said, "Try not to cry, princess, when we're done with you," the table had erupted. Sarah had heard it from 2 corridors away. She had said nothing. She had gone to sleep early. The exercise began at 0600 under a pale gray sky. The scoring officer, a veteran colonel named Marsh, stood on an elevated platform with a clipboard and 30 years of judgment behind his eyes. He had seen everything this facility had to offer. He expected nothing unusual that morning. He was wrong. Within the first 4 minutes, Sarah had neutralized the first 2 Marines without triggering a single alert. She moved through the mock building like someone who had studied its every shadow in her sleep, because she had. While the others rested the night before, Sarah had requested the facility blueprint under the pretense of a safety review. She had memorized every corridor, every choke point, every blind spot. She had not been preparing to survive the exercise. She had been preparing to end it. By the time Brody Callahan realized something was wrong, 4 of his men had already been marked as eliminated by Colonel Marsh's scoring team. There were red tags on their vests. They stood at the sideline with expressions that had no name, somewhere between confusion and the earliest stages of shame. Callahan regrouped with the remaining 2. He stopped joking, he started thinking. But Sarah had already anticipated his regrouping point. She had predicted it the same way she predicted everything, not through arrogance but through the kind of disciplined study that only comes from spending years being underestimated and deciding that preparation was the only answer to other people's doubt. She took down the 5th and 6th in rapid succession, clean, precise, no wasted movement. The scoring officer had stopped writing and started watching. The sideline had gone completely quiet. And then it was just Sarah and Callahan, the man who had laughed and the woman who had heard him. They found each other in the final corridor. He was breathing hard. She was not. He was bigger, stronger, trained by the same brutal institution that had shaped some of the finest fighters in American history. And he looked at her in that moment with something he had not worn all morning: genuine uncertainty. For the first time, Brody Callahan did not know what was coming. Sarah Voss had spent her entire career in rooms full of men who looked exactly like that. She knew what to do with it. The engagement lasted 11 seconds. Colonel Marsh marked the final red tag himself. Then he set down his clipboard, looked out at the facility, and began to clap. Slowly at first, the deliberate, earned applause of a man who does not give it easily. One by one, the eliminated Marines joined him. And then Brody Callahan, still breathing hard, still wearing the red tag on his chest that she had placed there, he looked at Sarah Voss and did something nobody expected. He nodded, not a small nod. A real one, the kind that costs something. The kind that says, without a single word, I was wrong and I know it and I will not forget this. Sarah did not celebrate. She picked up her gear, walked to the water station, and drank like someone who had simply finished a job. But later that evening, when the debrief was over and the facility had emptied, Colonel Marsh found her alone by the equipment racks. He said, "Where did you learn to move like that?" She looked at him for a moment and then said quietly, "I learned it in every room where someone told me I couldn't." He never forgot those words. Neither did the 7 Marines. Neither, if you have ever been the person in the room that everyone looked past, neither will you. If this story lit something in your chest, share it with someone who needs it today. Not because it is a story about one woman winning one exercise, but because it is a story about what becomes possible when you refuse to let other people's blindness become your boundary. Someone in your life is being called princess right now. Make sure they know how this story ends.